Oh, hey, what's up? This is your girl Diamond. Oh, it's over a bit further than I like. Bam. How are you doing? So we are doing a discussion. I go live every Friday at 7 o'clock, and this discussion is about the documentary on HBO about Donyale Luna. So yes. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Hey, Miss Polk, how are you? How's work? How how's your move? How are you enjoying? You've been there for what? How long you been in Georgia? Didn't you move to Georgia? Hey Troy, how are you? Hey Brandon. Hey Darcel. Hey Ty. Since March. Yeah, you've been there 6 months now. Is that 6 months? How are you enjoying it? Hey La Rastan. How do you say that? Ratancita? La Ratancita. It's going lovely. I got one more year left and I'm moving to Texas. Word. Why Texas, child? Not that you know, Texas was great for me. But I want to say it's great for everybody. But what makes you want to come to Texas? I meant to tell you, you ate that outfit and that hair color in your last live. Oh, thank you. We are gonna need more of the spicy amber color. Red and black is my favorite. I love a long black and a red and a short blonde. Those are my three. I'm getting older. I'm turning into one of those women's that like certain stuff. Short blonde, curly red, and long black. That's me. Anything else? Nothing else. I'm turning into one of them women that's getting set in my ways. But thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mm, 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 mm. Oh gosh. So I got some great news. If you follow my podcast on Instagram, we've already announced it on there. But so I am one of the finalists in the Script Howard Foundation's Journalism Award, based on the project I did with Insider about trans homicides and creating that database and creating that data and research. And we're in the finalists. So it's only three of us left, and I hope to win. I hope our project win. Is really, really powerful work, important and groundbreaking work. And I am so excited, just to be honored by a journalistic organization. While I'm not your traditional journalist, I do feel like a journalist sometimes in some of the work that I do. And I feel like a journalist. I feel like an archivist. I feel like an activist. I feel like a social commentary person. I feel like a bunch of shit. So, but that particular project felt like journalism. It felt like, oh, I'm doing some journalism. So for me to be a part of it and it's winning awards. We already won the Sidney Hillman Foundation Award. I was so excited about that. But now for us to win another award, well, not win yet. We're in the finalists. I'm just claiming it. What the Clark sisters say, you got to claim it. Um, we're one of three finalists, and so I am excited about that. Um, so yeah, if you want to check out, check out if you want to hear about or see about it, check out the video that I posted on Marsha's Plates Instagram, and there's a video on there where we recorded me and Esther Kaplan, which was the lead journalist of the team. I was the consultant and one of the writers. I can't remember Madison. I can't remember her last name. I think her last name is Madison. My first name is Madison. Um, but I put the video on our Instagram so you can check it out. I love it, love it, love it, love it. So make sure you comment and go to their page and support just to show them, it's getting some traction. That might help. Um, what else? What else has happened? Oh, this is super, super exciting. So, well, exciting for me. It may not. I don't know. It's exciting for me. So I, so I got contract to do a keynote in my hometown. So my hometown is Indianapolis, as y'all who've been here for a while knows. And I've never had a speaking engagement in my hometown. And so this will be the first in that um in that regards. It's the Southern Grandeur gala or brunch that Trans Solutions is having, and this will be my first time keynoting there. But they surprised me and sent me an email yesterday, and they're gonna give me. Now, I don't feel this old, but they're gonna give me a lifetime achievement award. How dope is that from your own city? I fucking love that. So I don't feel that old though. I still got some shit to do that I'm trying to do, but I assume if I'm to not, I'm assumed because it's my city. I did a lot of shit in my city. In regards to my city. There's other girls, which is what I'm going to include in my keynote. But really, I want it to be a love letter to the trans girls that grew up with me, the trans girls that is in a generation before me and a generation after, and how, the 90s girls of Indianapolis really kind of broke down a bunch of, not just, but a bunch of the 90s girls in Indianapolis really shut down a lot of doors when it comes to not shut down, busted open, knocked down a lot of doors in our city. So may not be no national stuff, but in our city, we really open up the door for a lot of girls to come through and say, "Hey, we remember Diamond, we remember Stacia, we remember Strawbella, we remember Ty, we remember Zori, we remember these girls, Sizzle and Sandra, and these girls who were out and about. Sizzling was a working nurse at one of the most popular hospitals in our city and was there for years. And so there's just certain things. There's girls who, there's popular fashion shows that we've been in, and breaking down that barrier. It's just been so many things in that city that the trans girls have just kind of knocked shit down. And so for me to be honored is so dope by my own city. So I love it. Now we got to get Jackson State on the motherfucking train because I need to speak at Jackson State. I haven't done that yet, but that if I'm talking about like my own personal life accomplishments that I want in my life, I want to speak an engagement at Jackson State. So let's claim that and speak that into existence. So yes, that is some amazing news. So I'm just excited. I'm excited for that. Um, yeah. Yet another accolade for the highly acclaimed. Thank you. Which is our thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, but a lifetime has been had there. It really has. It has. When I think about how much we had done at in from teen years, like, oh, guess who I looked up, Ty? Like yesterday, I was talking to my homegirls, and I looked up Deborah Ashanti. Like I looked her up and was seeing what she was doing. Child, go to ACT's website. They done got fancy, baby. Go to their website and see how much programming they got now. Remember when they used to be like a little hood troop? When they used to be like a little hood troop. Now they like an institution, bitch. They like an arts institution. I was like, come on, Deborah. So anyway, Deborah Ashanti, y'all, is this black cis woman who opened up the Ashante's Children Theater in Indianapolis, and we used to do plays and it's from 6 years old to 13 years old. Sometimes they go extend a little bit older, sometimes, but that's the normal range from 6 to 13. And so when me and Ty was younger, we was a part of this troupe, and this is you know early, we hadn't transitioned yet. We was little boys, but little gay boys, love it, living for dance and theater. Well, Ty more than dance, Ty into dance, me into theater. But we used to get our life, and they and I just gotta accredit them and Deborah and all the things that she introduced us to. She introduced us to a love for Black art. I was already artistic, but when you're growing up in this country, sometimes the artistic stuff skews a little white. We learned about Beethoven and Mozart and da da da, but we didn't learn about sh- um, Chevalier and just like Black artists of any that was kind of silenced during any artistic period. But she introduced us to well, introduced me. I don't want to say you, but okay, I can say you now that you said it. She introduced us to a love of Black art, different types of art. One of the first monologues that I ever performed was a Paul Laurence Dunbar monologue, and introduced me to Paul Laurence Dunbar, introduced me to Zora Neale Hurston, introduced me to um, just plays, August Wilson, and just the love of the Black arts and how you can be proud of art and as a Black person and know that there is excuse me, a long history of Black art that you can appreciate, all kinds. And so, yeah, she just was so, 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 so dope. And so she ran a children's theater, and we put on a play every year. And the play that I participated in was called The Middle Passage. And it was just a play about the Middle Passage, about slaves coming over here. And imagine kids. It just was so powerful. Imagine kids playing slaves, and her and like take and it's and being taken seriously, not like a kiddie um like not like a kiddie version, like taken seriously and making the kids act. So there was a scene where there's like boards over us, and we're laying on the floor of the stage, and we're in chains, and we gotta act this moment out. It was so powerful, like for me as a kid, and knowing about slavery, but then these adults are giving you context about it. It was so fucking dope. It was so sickening. And then we did the Wiz, and it was the first time that I auditioned for something, and I did really, really fucking good. I didn't get it, and I don't want to be shady, but I think I didn't get it because the dude who got my role, he was about to age out of ACT. He had never got no role before, child, but I felt like I smashed him. But he was about to age out. And so, being that he was about to age out, they were like, let's just go ahead and give it to this person and let Diamond be the understudy for this role, which was the Tin Man. But I wore it out, and I felt like I should have got it. But it was sickening, but he got the role. So I didn't really get to do it. I think I would have got it if I would have stayed there another year. But yes, I loved it. It introduced me just to the love of role playing and improvisation, and it was just so dope. I loved it. Anyway, yeah, it was so cute. And my girlfriend at the time, cisgender girlfriend, last and not the only, but the last one I ever had. She played Eveline because y'all know I like chocolate girls, chocolate people at all anyway. But she played Eveline, and she was so good. She was so good, and she just was one of the reasons why I liked her enough to be my girlfriend is because she just had that kind of personality that I wanted as a woman. Into the art, smart, fabulous. She was that girl, Jessica Lawson. She was my girl. Shout out to Jessica Lawson, who dated all the gay boys. Every one of her boyfriends is gay now or trans. She lived for us. She was the official go get gay girlfriend, child. She loved all the gay boys trying to do it to me. I was like, mm-mm, I'll kiss you. That's about it. That's about it, honey. That's where we gonna keep it. So, all right, right. Hold on, let me get up. Let me go get my oh my towel. Cause I'm gonna be hot in this here. Yes, Lord. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Right. So all right, so y'all ready to talk about she needs a founder award. Right. All right, so y'all ready to talk about Luna? We into this 16-minute, yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about it. So how many of y'all watched it? Did y'all watch it? Did y'all watch the documentary? Did y'all enjoy it? Yes or no? Oh, wait. There's some things that I want to do before I start because I'm gonna forget if I don't. So I want to talk about just came to see gorgeous. Thank you. I want to talk about this. So there's a comic book called Trans Non-Binary Comic The Outside. So it's called The Outside. Trans Non-Binary Comics. It is it has so many comics in here. Just so many different kind of stories and it is so cute. It is by let me see. I wrote it on my notes. Bam. Where's my notes? No. Oh, yes, it is. Okay. It is by Cal Min Christensen and David Damon. I'm about to show y'all the link so y'all can check it out. So if you are into comics, it is the Donyale Luna doc on HBO. So they sent it to me and I think this is dope. If you into comics, you need something for your kids, or it's not like adult like giving any kind of porn, nothing like that. But it's for adults and kids. So you can you use it as a teaching tool. I really, really love it. I thought it was dope and they are great. So that's one thing. Second, anybody who knows me knows that I love me some 90s supermodels. So my favorite supermodel, now I know everybody it would seem like it's gonna be Naomi Campbell. Naomi Campbell is my favorite. Naomi is the greatest of all time. So I don't wanna disappoint y'all. Naomi is the greatest supermodel of all times. I don't care what nobody say. But she is not my favorite. I love her, but she is not my favorite. My favorite supermodel is Linda Evangelista. She is my favorite. I love Naomi. I love Christy Turlington. I love Tyra Banks, but it's something about Linda that is just her chameleonness, her just everything about her. I love really I just love Linda. Linda's my number one. Now, I love Chrissy Turlington, I love Naomi, I love Tyra Banks. Those are my favorite like if I'm talking about models, those are going to be my Amber Valetti, Shalom, um these are gonna be my girls. Where I'm like, oh, when I see them, I know I'm gonna get the magazine. I know I'm gonna get whatever those girls. It's my shit. Um, so my favorite photographer of all time is Stephen Meisel. If you know anything about fashion photography, you know he is a icon. Stephen Meisel is just an icon photographer, and in the name of this show being about the most, the first black model, this documentary, Donyale Luna, I thought it was be appropriate for me to talk um, about this book. But yes, I just bought this book, and it was expensive, but but it goes along with my decor, and it's a table book. It's like how people have books on their table. I'm like that girl, so I'm one of them people. So this book is so sickening. It is called, is it backwards? It's probably backwards, but anyway, Linda Evangelista photographed by Stephen Meisel. And it is a book of pics that we know of Linda and pics that we don't know of Linda by Stephen Meisel. So they have included all the pictures that, because she was his muse. A bunch of the girls. He done did everybody because he's a fashion photographer. But when their career was blowing up, these two, this collaboration, this is a love letter to their collaboration. And I love Linda Evangelista and I love Stephen Meisel. So as soon as I found that they were collaborating on a book together, they might as well could have put a gun to my head and told me to give me your money, because I immediately bought it. And this is, honey, this is a treasure. I love this book. And so it is just tons of like amazing, just sickening, unseen pictures of Linda Evangelista that um that he has taken, fashion photography that he has taken of her, and she is fucking sickening, and his photography is sickening, and it's just, oh my god, I love her. She is sickening, and so it's just a love little trinket for my table for me to have in my house. And so, same thing. I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world. Yes, Evangelista. Shout out to Pose. Yes, 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 yes. So there's that book. Um, so yes, I wanted to shout out the outside, the trans non-binary comics, and I wanted to shout out Linda and Steve doing, not that they need your coin, but I needed it for myself because it's just a joy for me. Um, Linda and Steve doing a collaboration. And I thought that was appropriate because Danielle Luna, who this documentary is about, if you watch that documentary, you will see how her and the photographer she worked with set a standard on how photography should look for the rest of the fashion industry. That is, so these girls that we see nowadays doing some of these things that we associate with fashion, Danielle working with amazing photographers, her beauty, her stature, her look is what set a standard that, that is, we still see repeated in the culture of fashion photography, especially in modeling, the modeling industry. We see it today. So I thought this was a dope documentary. So I thought it was appropriate for me to talk about that book. All right, so let's talk about Peggy Ann Freeman. So Peggy Ann Freeman is the real name, the birth name of Danielle Luna. She is a fashion model that broke the mold. She is the first black fashion model, like period. Like she is the first one on Vogue. She is technically the first one on Harper's Bazaar, but they made her into a cartoon because they're racist. Um, what else? She's just the first supermodel sensation, like just wow. Um, and she just had like a very unique gazelle modelistic type beauty. So we know that model wise in regards to their physicality, models are tall and thin. So think olive oil. Think, tall and skinny. Like they're supposed to look like a hanger, basically. You want enough room in your length to show the full garment that you're showing. And you want to, you're giving this it's like a walking hanger. It's about showcasing the garments. And so of course, naturally, just it's going to be rooted in whatever the dominant culture standard of beauty is going to be. So thin, waist thin, and this shifts slightly throughout history, but models typically have this same look: tall and thin, and gorgeous face. Okay, you caught when the photographer said, "I thought she was an Indian. I didn't know she was a Negroid." So yes, we're gonna get into that. So Danielle was I couldn't when I looked up how tall she was, I got 6'2". And when she was younger, the guy said she was almost 6 foot. But when he met her, she was only 14, only 15. And she was like 14, 15. So she was a teenager. So I think that she grew taller as she got older. Um, so she was like 6'2". She was tall. And what I want to kind of showcase, because this is a trans woman's show, um, is just like how interesting it is. How, in order for you to be a model, you have to have a unique beauty. You have to have um, a beauty that hasn't been seen before, but also, that height thing is so interesting, how the people that we put on a pedestal, um, in regards to the fashion industry, that we put on a pedestal are tall as fuck. And I know so many women, that trans women, that and women, cisgender women too, but mostly trans women, who are insecure about their height. And and I understand why, but it's quite interesting that the women that we put on a beauty pedestal are all tall as fuck. 5'10", 5'11". I think the shortest one that they talk about how unique her career is because she's so short is Kate Moss, and she's 5'9". But the rest of the women that when it comes to fashion, model, beauty, they're 5'10" and above. Not super, super tall, not like 5'6". I mean, not 5'6", 6'5", not that. But they are around between 6'2" and 5'10". Most of them are in that range. And so it's quite interesting that, we beat ourselves up about those things when, so many women are pedalized, put on a pedestal about that stuff. So I thought that was interesting. Um an element of so she was born in Detroit, and another thing that I want to kind of talk about, I just kind of point stuff out that I think about as I'm watching something, is how many fucking bad bitches and bad niggas come from the Midwest, honey. Now I'm not saying they don't come from the East Coast and the South and da 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 da, da, but there's some bad bitches in the industry that come from the Midwest. We got, Donyale Luna come from the Midwest. We got all the Motown people coming from Detroit. Aretha Franklin, all the Motown people like um, um, Diana Ross. We got Babyface. He came from Indianapolis. Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson. They all from Indiana. We hate him now, but he was the king at one point. R. Kelly. we hate him now, but that's where he grew up in that musically in that Chicago thing. Um, it's just so many people that come from the Midwest that I can think about, and it's dope. Um, I live for it. So for her to be from the Midwest, from Detroit, and then you know, gotta go from gotta go over here. Aaliyah from Detroit. So many. Aaliyah makes me proud. Um, But I also I find it interesting that this era, I find it's a couple of interesting things. So this era of New York, I find amazing. How many people hustled their way up in New York between the 60s and the 70s. Like it's quite amazing. There was a time if you hear like you hear documentaries, like recently I heard about this dude who was in the studio, what was his name? He's a big studio exec. I don't know his name because I don't always remember um, um, the Caucasian people's names. But he just got in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and y'all know him or y'all know music that he's produced. But he one of the first gigs that he was able to do, he worked for Bruce Springsteen, and he didn't know nothing about music or music studio, but he was at the right place and right time and lied and said that he knew how to work the machine. Fast forward to now, he's one of the music executive juggernauts, and he lied. I don't know how to do this shit, but I'm gonna figure it out to get this job. And he learned it in the moment, and it just grew into something else. Ooh, I wish I knew his name. I can't remember his name. But he gave us Dr. Dre. Like he was one of the people that signed Dr. Dre and NWA. He was a white man that signed a lot of our people. So so it's interesting to know and hear stories about people coming up in the ranks and hustling their way in New York. Is it the guy with the long beard? Not him, not the dude with the beard. He's short with a bald head. I know the tall guy with the beard. Um yeah, the one that I remember from the Hall of Fame was Dr. Dre. Because he came up and talked to him. He came up and introduced him. I can't remember his name, y'all. I don't think it's not Rick Rubin. Wait, let me look him up. Rick Rubin. According to No, Wikipedia. That's the dude with the beard. No, not him. That's the dude with the beard. I know him. This is somebody else. This is a short dude with glasses. He looked like the dude from Devil's Wear Prada. He's not him, but he looks like him. The dude from Nigel from Denver, Jimmy Levine. That's the name. That's got to be him. I think that's the name. Yes, that's him. Yes, that's him. Yes, Jimmy Ivan. Him. Yes, that's him. Um, they were telling his story, and he was talking about how like I was bullshitting them, like I didn't know about this. And there's so many stories when I hear people telling their history around this time between the 60s and the 70s, like them growing up and hustling their way into particular industries. That's what I hear, and I find it so fascinating. You hear them saying, "I came to New York and I was so innocent and doughy-eyed, and I just came up in this industry." And seeing the documentary of Danielle, that's kind of what Danielle did. Danielle was tipping around Detroit, and this fashion photographer saw her and was like, "Hey, you be a model. Here's my card." And luckily, he wasn't a creep, because that's how a lot of girls got found. Even Amon said that she got found in that way. You could be a model, da 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 da, and somebody give you, but that's also the beginning of an ugly story of girls getting swindled and sexually assaulted and da 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 da. Da. So, um, but luckily this he wasn't a creep, and he found her and said, "Hey, if you're ever in New York, here is my card." He saw it and was like, "Oh, you could wear it out." And so when she came to New York, which I'm gonna go back a little bit. When she came to New York, that's how she became modeling. And it was interesting because she said, I was just this young, innocent girl that didn't know anything. And here I am in New York and I'm in black and I'm seeing all these chic people and blah, blah, blah. But prior to her coming to New York, she's living in Detroit and she's kind of like, they don't say this, but they imply this. And I don't want to say that's what happened. But statistically, I wouldn't I wouldn't put it past them. I feel like the vibe was she might have got sexually molested when she was in her home when she was young. Um, it was because it was kind of weird. Like they didn't say this, but it was given very that. Like the way it was coming off was like at home there was something going at home that wasn't tumultuous, not just the domestic violence that her mother was experiencing with her father, not just right. Something happened, right? It was, and then she didn't come to her dad's funeral. And if you remember, her sister, you know, even though she knew what was going on with her mother, so if you watch the documentary, her mother ended up killing her dad. And the mom was like, I didn't mean to kill him. I just wanted him to stop. Like he was trying to kick my ass and he was abusive. And they said it like he was abusive. He was wearing their mama out. And so I was like, but even the girl, even the sister, she was like, there still was care. It felt like there was a care for her dad. That and she was like just seeing that out the window and what had happened and blah blah blah. She kind of got emotional. I feel like Luna was like, child, I don't like this shit. Like, I ain't going back to this funeral. Fuck them. I don't know. I felt that vibe. It didn't say that. This is just me projecting. But I felt a vibe that was like, maybe something was happening that we don't know. Um, Another element, definitely Chuck the Deuces. Another element that kind of stood out for me. Do y'all remember I, I want to talk about this because we got to watch how we talk about things because I think how we talk about things can perpetuate certain systems that we now know that are bad that we trying to dismantle. So you remember when her sister was talking about Luna and she was saying, and this was her real feelings, and we all understand why this was her real feelings. Um, but she was saying, she said she was describing Luna, but describing her parents, and she was like, her mother looked like Queen Elizabeth, and she was like, "This is where Luna Peggy, Luna got her look from." Her mother, being her mother is light skinned and fair complected, and she said, "But my father was handsome too, even though he was brown skin and caramel skin." So you gotta pay attention to how we talk about things. This is somebody from this generation. You see what I'm saying? This is somebody from this generation. And these conversations and people who talk like this, now this is somebody from the who grew up in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. You get what I'm saying? Who in turn raised people who were born in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. You see what I'm saying? And so I remember hearing this kind of language when it comes to colorism, when it comes to, oh, she's pretty for a dark skinned girl. Oh, um, shit like that. Like that's a common one. We know that one, but it's subtle little ways that we prop up light skinned people and put down dark skinned people. That you gotta clock in your language because this is a perfect example. I don't think she was even thinking about it. I think she just was saying, "Oh, that's where she got my mother's her beauty from because my mother was light skinned, fair skinned." And even the idea of using the language of fair, like fair skinned, fair being something, because what's the opposite of fair? You get what I'm saying? Like it's something that is rooted in white supremacy. So you have to be careful in how you use words and how you talk to your children, how you talk to your people, how do you because especially your children, because they can pick up those subtle nuances in regards to how you think about yourself. Feel what I'm saying? And then she even said it to herself. I never thought that she was beautiful. I never thought that I was pretty. But so this is her opinion of her sister being the darker of her two sisters. Because if you look, because it was two sisters in there, it was a lighter complected one like Luna, and she was the darkest one. So you got three sisters, and the darker one is the one who feels like, oh, I'm not as pretty as her. Fast forward to you think about Luna, Danielle, something that the sister said. She was like, she didn't think that she was beautiful either because of her other parts of her look. People, dudes thought that she was weird. She was tall, she was skinny, and all that kind of stuff made her feel like she wasn't beautiful. So they all got this fucking bullshit. um, they got all this. So even her as a light-skinned woman at the time has these issues about now that might be more about size and not feeling beautiful in that regards, but it's always interesting to me how one person can be, you know, think this way about this person and they could think that this way about themselves, and this you want this but don't have this, or you want it to be you may be lighter than your sister but you're not as light as the white girl, so you still have something that you are marginalized by just by being a brown girl, so you may not be marginalized as much as a dark skinned girl, but you're not a white girl either, and you're still, as we see in her career, the same thing. Do you see what I'm saying? Like it's this kind of spectrum of and continuation of you just not good enough to be in this space. And as somebody just pointed out, the goalpost is going to be different. So I thought that was an interesting thing that they kind of pointed out in her show. And it was like the black fellas didn't like her. They said she was skinny and looked like olive oil, and her not feeling beautiful. And because of this, she creates this persona, and the persona she named it Donyale Luna. This wasn't like, ooh, I went to a modeling gig at and then changed my name. Do y'all think Luna co-opted every race but black as an extension of this? Um I think yes. I think that I don't want to say co-opted. I don't know. She there is a we're talking about 50s and 60s. We talked about 60s. We talked about the 60s, and we're talking about her growing up, so that would have been the 50s too. Because she was born in 45. So by the time she gets to high school, it's yeah, it's like the late 50s, early 60s. Black wasn't beautiful. And you get what I'm saying? Black at the time, we didn't have the essence. We didn't have all the infrastructure that we built over the years to say that we were pretty. When I was growing up, there was beauty icons that had existed. So I had an array of people I could see that were beautiful. Whitney Houston, um, it was array for me, especially as a light skinned girl. There was an array of beautiful light skinned women. There was a now I appreciated dark skinned girls too because I had dark skinned girls in my family. While my mother, pe- g- this is weird too about color. It's so weird. So me growing up, because of how my mother talked about herself, I consider because of how she talked about herself, I considered my mother a dark skinned girl. But when I grew up, based on how people responded to my mother, she really wasn't dark skinned to some people. Like to some, like she didn't feel like she was brown. And brown skinned girls kind of have this, I don't know. Me and my friends kind of talk about this too. There's some people who other people consider dark skinned, then other people don't. It's some like we were talking. It's I don't know. I can't really explain. There's some people who I they because they were the darkest of their group and was experiencing colorism based on their proximity to like Danielle's daughter, like Danielle's sister, based on their proximity to their group. She she felt like a dark skinned girl, like my mother. And so, because she wasn't as light skinned as her cousins, who she grew up in the house with, she was the darkest. And so, her grandma, my great grandmother, not my grandmother, but her grandmother. Um, oh, hold on, I'll show you a picture of my mom. So, my mother's brown, and this is that's her normal color. She's a brown girl. Um, But up north, people would say that she was brown. But when we go to the south, dudes will holler at her and say, "Hey, red." And I had never seen people do that to my mom. And so we would have this conversation that, yeah, and she would say it like she was like in the south, they men consider me a red girl, like a caramel red girl. But up north they don't. And it was very, very strange how my mother navigated. But when I was younger, since we were in Indiana, how my mother spoke was like she was a dark skinned girl. So that was my mindset. Anybody darker than my mother was a dark skinned girl. Like, and so, and how she talked, because she was the one who introduced me to the concept of colorism. Like she's the one who introduced me to, she's the first one to say, don't think because you light skinned that you better than people. Like she was that kind of girl. And talking about colorism, didn't use the language of colorism, but um but the concept of colorism without the language, she would bring to me. Like she would teach me about people treating people differently because of dark skin complexion. Um, but she also has some colorist ways though too. Um, she would say things like, um, when I think of colorism, I think of, we have different things like colorism, texturism, featureism. We all know what those things are, right? We're talking about a black model, so I want to kind of clear some of that stuff up. We know what these things are. We know what colorism is. That is the system of oppression that oppresses dark skinned people. Okay, that over light people. Okay, closer the system of oppression that says the closer you are to white and light skin, you will be treated in a better way. And the further you are, the more marginalized that you are. Texturism is going to be talking about the texture of your hair. Like, do you have the tightly coiled cotton like kinky hair? That's going to be, used to be called nappy. I don't know if that's still appropriate nowadays, but kinky, really tightly coarse, cotton like. That's going to be kinky hair. And then, or do you have a straighter texture of hair that looks more like white folks' hair? It always about white supremacy. So when we talk about texturism, and you hear somebody, especially in the black community, especially in the South, if you're in the black community and you grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you have heard somebody say, "Oh, they got good hair." What we consider good hair is going to be the curly, the straighter, the wavy. That's going to be good hair. We're trying to get out of that language. That goes back to the language. So that's going to be what texturism is. Um, um, Many people have colorism is global. It's not just United States. Colorism is in Asia. Colorism is in Europe. Colorism is in Africa. Colorism is in the United States, America, South America. Colorism is everywhere. They all have a form of it because white supremacy is global. And so it is a class thing too. We talked about class. In some of them areas, like when we think about Asian and the Philippines and different parts of Asia, if you were dark skinned, that means that you worked in the field. If you were tan, that means you worked in the field and you were a lower class of those people. And so, yeah, colorism is everywhere. Featureism. So texturism is going to be hair. So think about how these things can be mixed up in different black people. Think about Tatiana Ali, like the girl from um, Fresh Prince of Bel Air that plays the daughter, not Hillary, but Ashley. So Ashley to me is a dark skinned girl, but she has that kind of hair that we consider good hair. That kind of more straight, wavy kind of hair. And so while she is dark skinned, she got that kind of hair that's kind of like, ooh, she got that kind of texture that ooh, she got that good hair. When we think about Chili from TLC having the baby hairs and the good hair, like those things, while you still dark skinned, those things can push you up a notch because you dark skinned, but you got that kind of good hair. Ananda Lewis was one. Chili from TLC. Yes, all those girls are a darker complexion, but they got this kind of unique, and it's not really that unique, but it is not, like African hair. You see what I'm saying? So they like, you got this. You must be mixed. They're gonna ask you, it's these things that make you look exotic. Even though if you go to Africa, and I'm saying African because if you go to Africa, all those types of hairs is gonna be on everybody's head. You Africa, it's gonna be curly. You go to wherever you go, it's gonna be different kind of hair in Africa. Um, but that's going to be texturism. And then we have featureism. So there's a difference between having afrocentric features, really, like wide nose and full lips and you know all these things in regards to your features, like your nose. Usually this is about nose and lips. Um but yes, usually when it comes to like African, it's usually gonna be about nose and lips. I don't know about eye. Oh, eye color. So if you got a lighter eye color, then that's going to be closer to white supremacy. That's going to go to a lot of our models. We're going to be talking about some models. So a lot of our models, the reason why they were celebrated and was like, "Ooh, these are beautiful black women," is because they didn't have African features. Look at Donyale Luna. It's her features. While she is a black woman, her features were not like, they were small. And so, she didn't have full lips in a way that looks African. Do you see what I'm saying? So when we think about the features that look like basically a white woman dipped in chocolate. If you look like that, if you look like that, like you're a white woman that just so happened to have dark skin, then ooh, you're gonna be idealistic because you don't have that big nose, you don't have those big lips, you have a funny color eye like a Tyra Banks. Yeah, so these are gonna be feature. That's gonna be featureism. So how we And I think all of there should be a term. It might be a term, and I just haven't read about it. Sorry, um, but there should be a term that those three. Like I always think of it when it comes to beauty. um, if you are a gamer, like a Zelda, you know, when you playing Zelda and you're trying to find this triangle, then this triangle, and then this triangle, and when you get them together, you got the fourth. That's what that is. That's kind of how I think about beauty. Everybody has different. um yes, Iman absolutely was one. Most East African, not all of them, but East African, there's the reason why they are considered one of the most beautiful women is because they don't have West African features. And so, yeah, it's like this trifecta. You have when it comes to who is beautiful, it's colorism, what skin color you're gonna be, texturism, what kind of hair do you have, and featureism, what kind of features do you have. So all those three things are gonna decide whether people think that you are beautiful. That's what it is. And what makes you a unique beauty or an exotic beauty, especially in um, the culture, Black culture, and other cultures looking at us, is when you have a mixture of those things. Like, ooh, she has those blue eyes, but she's dark skinned. Ooh, she has those green eyes, but she's dark skinned. Ooh, she has those full lips, but she is light skinned. Like that kind of what makes you a unique beauty, exotic, is a mixture of those things. And so that is, I think, that is one of the things that made Danielle who Danielle is. Let's see. So why I went into that, you had asked, somebody had asked about, um, yes, do you think that Luna co-opted other races? So there is an there is a s- for you to say you're mixed is a automatically puts you in this exotic category. It automatically takes you out of just being black, because a lot of times, if you have any of these things that I'm talking about, featureism when it comes to hair, the texturism when it comes to hair, if you have, you know, a light complexion, if you have features that they think is not black or associated with blackness, even though every gene in the fucking gene pool comes from blackness. But when they see something in you that does not that they don't associate with blackness, they will they will attribute they will attribute that thing to whiteness or to you being mixed. Oh, you're light skinned because, oh, you got some white in your family. And while that can be true, I'm pretty because I'm black, bitch. You know what I'm saying? They will make it seem like everything pretty about you is because you're mixed, or pretty about you is because you got some white ancestry. And so when people do that, they are disassociating themselves from blackness. Now, I think that there's more room for you not to do that. You don't need to do that now. But I think in the 60s, at the state of where race was, I think that it was beneficial for her to do that. People thinking that, ooh, you're not just black. Not that it did, her blackness still didn't affect her, still didn't give her barriers, but that for some people, that distinction of I have everything in me, first of all, it gives a allure, it gives this kind of exotic situation, and that appeals to some people. And I think her doing that is not as simple. I don't think that it's like her not being realistic. You see what I'm saying? I don't think there's a level where they were like, oh, making it seem like she is like she's crazy and she's just believing she's this person. But I think of it more like Mom's Mabley. She was in the entertainment business and she put, even though Mom's Mabley was a masculine dyke who liked women, she put on this costume as Mom's Mabley and this character as Mom's Mabley to perform. I think Danielle said, yo, I'm going to do this and I'm going to give this persona, because modeling isn't just an on stage thing. Giving the persona is what makes people draw to you all the time. You feel what I'm saying? Like, if you think about what they were when they were talking about how she was hanging with the Andy Warhols. Now, Andy Warhol is, they called it out, in the black dude called it out in the documentary, saying that he was, like a leech, like a vampire, where the special things about people he would latch on to and just use it to showcase in his work. It was the people he was featuring that was the artist, that was the interesting thing. But because he was smart enough to kind of he wasn't amazing in the sense of him, he was born. But the people around him, the Andre Leon Tallys, the Gigi Darling, excuse me, the Gia Darlings, is that her name? What's the white trans woman? Is it Gia Darling? I think it's Gia Darling. The white trans woman that was around him. Donyale Luna. I said Andre Leon Talley. Just everybody that was around him that he kind of just put out. Candy Darling, thank you. He kind of stole their persona. She was she was giving a persona because she knew this is what can be interesting about me. And so, yeah, I'm Danielle Luna. And even in the interview with, was it Carson? No, it wasn't Carson. It was somebody else. I saw the interview with Carson, but she had with the when she had the blue eyes and the wild hair. Um, she says, my name is Peggy Danielle Luna Scott. I mean, Peggy, not Scott, Peggy Danielle Luna Freeman. So she was giving her real name, but she was also putting her name, her persona in there, because this is who I am. Now, this is what I want to give you. And I think that makes her more interesting. And I think that was strategic. It wasn't because I'm crazy. It is because I know the state of blackness right now. It's kind of like when we, honey, vote for Democrats. I know that they ain't shit, but they ain't like them. At least these ain't shit motherfuckers. I can work with them a little bit. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it's strategic. It's not me being crazy. It is me doing the best I can to be a star, doing the best I can, knowing that look what happened to her. There was opportunities that were shut down because she was a black girl. So she was trying to put her best foot forward and give them a persona, give them all the things that could make her exotic and blah 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 blah. I think that was a strategy, and something that she had to do at the time, because clearly, as we saw, motherfuckers was racist and prejudiced, and it was affecting people's bottom line. People were remember when she was on Harper's Bazaar, and when they put her and in her, even her face in the spray, it was white people saying we're giving up our subscriptions. We're canceling our subscriptions because you got this black chick on in here. What are y'all doing? And I thought that was interesting. I thought that was an interesting point too, because think about, you know, white saviors. Like, do I want to call them white saviors? No. Um, so hmm. So there was a point that I wrote in my notes about Where did I have it at? No, not here. Oh, okay. There is an element of obliviousness that white people have. Like if you pay attention to what these white people were saying about her lying about her race, what these white people were saying about the racist people who were the big wigs and who was making the decisions, like Diana Vreeland, when they were when they were talking about it, the Englishman, he said it, he was like, I'm an Englishman, so I didn't have the same mindset about race that people in America do. So he's oblivious to the racism in England. If you talk to any black person from Europe, they will tell you racism is all over. It may not show up in the same ways that racism show up in America, but racism is there. And so they're oblivious to it. And then so he says, I just don't understand why she needed to tell that. She may not have needed to say that she was mixed or say that she was had all these ancestries. That's because you're oblivious to race. Like you don't understand why somebody would do that because you don't but you learn quickly. You introduced her to Richard Avedon, and while he contracted her exclusive because she was his muse, he literally lost opportunities because he was trying to be forward thinking and saying, "Who cares? She's gorgeous." A white person, and I want to say he was doing it for a white savior complex. If you're watching, thumbs up. Um, like some white savior complex, but them thinking that racism doesn't exist. Oh, don't worry about it. You're so beautiful. They won't. Um, there won't be any consequences because these photos are going to be so amazing that they're going to look over that you're a black woman. And at every turn, they were like, especially Diana Vreeland, like literally told him, do not bring her to Japan. This is bring somebody else. Even though he had already done some photo shoot and proved to her this picture is she's the one, motherfucker. She is the one. She is the best model. You is tripping. And Diana said, something about King Kong. Remember what she said? Something about so is King Kong. Something racist. So it's interesting how many, and even the guy who somebody repeated it earlier about her being Negroid, he thought she was Indian and not Negroid. Um, in that, even him, he was talking, even that statement was weird, but him, like, I just didn't understand why they thought that, why this was such a big deal. She was stunning. Y'all not even considering it and not even paying attention to the real world so much because you don't have to. You don't have to pay attention to racism. You sitting up in this industry where there's no black model on the cover of any fucking magazine, and you're thinking that race is not an issue. Oh, she's so sickening. She's so beautiful that it should be a problem. There hasn't been a black woman on this magazine, and you're not even thinking about it. You're not even thinking about that. This is the state. The models were supposed to be aspirational, so white men aspire to be black model just doesn't compute. Makes total sense, and so I did write that down too, because that is because if we think about it, because they were doing things, shaking shit up, and I don't think that they were intentional. I just think that they were appreciating the beauty that is clearly there. Um, Even when they put her in the outfit and they put it with Verushka. Now, Verushka is a white model. Everybody knows she is classic white model, da 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 da. But Verushka is also German aristocrat. Like she comes from money, lived in the castle growing up, that her family had owned for generations. She was a German aristocrat, just a tall, beautiful one that became a model. And so for them to put Danielle in a picture with her, they're both sitting there looking sickening, looking beautiful. It is a class dynamic that is glaring. This is a beautiful German aristocrat woman with this working class woman, black woman from Detroit. You feel what I'm saying? Like there was something happening there. And so when we think about what modeling is, that is totally true. It is aspirational. It is aspirational. So if I associate black people with lower class, why would I think or want to aspire to be this black model? Period. I'm going to be indoctrinated in the idea that she is not as beautiful as me and she's black because she's black. Why would I aspire to that? What? Like it doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. And so I don't care how you dress a pig up, it's still a pig in a dress. You get what I'm saying? That's what they have got it in their mind that this is not appropriate. That this is I'm not gonna aspire to this. I don't care how gorgeous she is. Especially somebody who is offended by the idea that you are even in this magazine. Think about a homemaker at home, like, oh my God, Harper's Bazaar, all the models are so amazing. And then I turn the page and see this negress. What? That's gonna shake them hoes up. I'm supposed to aspire to be this, child. I ain't supposed to feel like these niggas could get it more than I can, faster than I can. And we saw that response. Um, Another movie that is coming out, I don't know where it's. Let me see where I can stream it. Let me find it because I didn't look that up. I just looked up the name. I don't know. I can't find it. Hold on. So there is a movie called Invisible Beauty, but it is about Beth Ann Hardison, who is a dark skinned black woman from this era, but not this era. She came in a little bit after Danielle. Danielle is the first, but came in a little bit after, and she is the one. She came out like with Halston and um, Pat Cleveland. Pat Cleveland was damn near white looking, but the one in this era that just was undeniably black, it's no kind of mix, no kind of nothing, was Beth Ann Hartston. So and she Hardison, and so she has a documentary about her life. About her career and being a force in the fashion industry called Individual Beauty. And it is out now. I don't know where it is streaming at, but it is out now. I don't know if it's in the movies or where it's showing at. I'm gonna have to look it up. But it is out now though, because they're promoting it now. Um, but the diversity that she's walked for Dior, but the diversity that we see nowadays is Beth Ann Hartson that kind of pushed it. Because once she got older, she was pushing for diversity. Do they have a texturism documentary? They do have documentaries that talk about these things, like um, dark skinned girls. I did a light skinned girls, which I thought was a fail, but there was a dark skinned girls. There's tons of videos about documentaries about black hair, talking about hair and texturism within them. Um, but I think dark skinned girls is one that kind of it's cool, but you would have to ask a dark skinned person if it. I've heard something that it was cool, but it didn't go far enough, and I heard some couple of things. You would have to ask dark skinned girl. Learn about colorism by dark skinned people. I think that's the best advice that I can give you because they're going to give you a more in depth experience about that. I can talk about it in the sense of knowing about it, but if you want to learn about colorism, texturism, and stuff, I would do that from a dark skinned person's point of view. Did Chris Rock do a documentary on black hair? He did, called Good Hair. Yes. Um, yes, it's tons of these things has been covered by so many people. So yeah. But yes, Invisible Beauty by um, a documentary about Beth Ann Harson. She is one of the groundbreaking before Iman, um, um, before like Beverly Johnson. I think not 100% sure about that, but I think yeah, she had to be. Yeah, she was before all of those beauties, before Iman, before Beverly Johnson. It was Beth Ann Hardison. So yes. Let me see what else. I want to talk about Diana Vreeland. So Diana Vreeland is before Anna Wintour, she was the Vogue, American Vogue um, editor in chief. So she was a Anna Wintour before Anna Wintour. She was Diana Vreeland. A lot of people she put on the map when we think about Andre Leon Talley, when we think about, just so many people. That's the black one that I know. But why I brought him up is because Diana Vreeland, it seems, because there's a bunch of, no, I won't say a bunch, but there's a black people that she put on, but it felt like she didn't mind black people as her pets and as her assistants because while Andre Leon Talley was great in his skill in seeing fashion and putting things together and having a fashion eye, a lot of times he was their pets. He was their sidekicks. Even Anna Wintour, even they were never it just was never yeah they were never her peers. Like they felt like they were her sidekicks and their pets. Her eyes that she knew had a keen eye that she would put in help her make herself great. I hate how they discarded Andre at the end of his life. But listen, I hate that too, but no, but it's not but. I don't know what the word is, but and both and when like Donyale Luna, when you invest in beauty, when you invest in being in the in crowd with white people, when you invest in these things that are kind of superficial, these things that kind of move around, invest in tokenism, that's a great word. But sometimes I don't think you're trying to, I don't think all of them were trying to be a token. They were just trying to do something that was never done. I don't, there's a layer of tokenism in there, but I don't think everybody had the intention of, oh, I want to be the only, I just want to do something that never been done. Do you see what I'm saying? I just want to have the opportunity to be great like these other motherfuckers. There, especially when you're in these moments where something hadn't been done. Um, but yes, I think tokenism is a level, a part of it too. Um, but investing in that does not always. Andre did a lot of colors things and perpetuated many colorist ideologies. Yes. Um, Fashion has had many problems. Yes. Um, but it's going to continue to have many problems because fashion and beauty are connected to class and white supremacy. It is. So as time goes on, it's going to continue to do that because that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be continue to be problematic. Um, it might get better and better and better, but it's always going to be rooted in those class things. And as we talked about, I don't know if you listened to Marshall Plate this week, but I kind of break down what class is. And class is about your social status. And as long as black people are considered just for being black, lower class, you'll never be able to get to the heights that there's going to be always an upward climb. That's just the name of the game. Um, but yeah, investing in beauty is fleeting. We look at her life. She went to America and they loved her. She was amazing. And she did some groundbreaking things, and then there was a glass ceiling that she couldn't bust through. So boom, she goes over to London, break down doors. It was a little bit more open, but not totally open because, as you can see, the racism started to wear them out. And boom, she had to leave London and go to. She reached a glass ceiling. Then she went to Paris. Goes to Paris. She's being that it girl. She's doing all these groundbreaking things. Da, 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 da. Boom, glass ceiling. She go to Italy, go to Milan, she goes to Italy and she's like, oh, boom. But by this time, I'm 33 and I done did everything that I could do. I done got into drugs. Life is shifting. I'm no longer the young girl. Most people ain't modeling after 30. After early 30s, most people ain't modeling. So where do I go after this? What happens after this? And I don't want to say lucky, it's not lucky, but then she dies at 33 of a drug overdose. And so if you if you have not invested in something else and made a pivot, more than likely you're going to fail at this stuff. A Naomi is an exception. That is an exceptional woman. That's why she's the greatest of all time to me, because she learned how to pivot and stay whatever she got going on, stay in this realm of industry and pivot and make it work for herself. That's dope. I don't think Andre Leon Talley did that. I don't think a lot of those people who were tokens did that. And so you gave them a chance to discard you. Not saying that it's your fault. I don't want to say that. But Tyra Banks pivot into television, pivot into another venture. I think being able to pivot and not put all your eggs in one basket is what makes you a brilliant person, a brilliant business person, um, a thinker, a brilliant mind. Switching it up, saying, "Oh, I know that this is not gonna save me. I know that I'm gonna be out of, no pun intended, but I'm gonna be out of vogue at some point, especially once Andre started to get bigger. Oh, baby, you know how fat phobic the industry is, honey. You ain't even gonna get no gastric, and you can afford it. This is an industry that's rooted in fat phobia. Come on. So you should have been looking for a way to sustain yourself outside of needing them. But even that can be kind of problematic because I'm basically making the system their fault. I don't know. It's a level of It's not their fault, but I don't know. It's it's kind of like this Angelica Ross thing that's currently happening. So Angelica recently, what time we have? Do I have anything other points to make before I start switching subjects? No, that was all the points I wanted to make. So yes, I thought it was a great documentary, and I'm gonna go back to the Angelica Ross thing. I thought it was a great documentary because it explored the state of blackness where we were at the time, and um, how silly the world was about race. Not that we didn't know it, but how silly it was in this industry. Part of the let me see, let me read what's saying. Yes, that's what I marvel about Patti LaBelle. She hopped into other industries, embraced younger generations, and kept her relevant. Money comes in all directions. Yes. I thought the grandparents were evil for forbidding conversations about Luna to her daughter in their house. That was her mother, and she never really knew. I don't think I don't that's not how I read that. How I picked that up. I felt like they were protecting her from the harm of finding her out that died of drug overdose. I don't think it was, oh, we can't talk about her at all. I think we don't want to talk about her death. We can talk about her. That's why they saved those book of diaries. She was reading Luna's diaries. They saved those things for her so she can have a piece of her mother. I don't think they were saying that that she couldn't talk about her in the sense of her accomplishments, what she did, things that she had, things that happened. Um, but I don't think that they wanted to talk about her death and give her daughter the impression that she was a drug addict because she died of a drug overdose. I don't think it was in an evil way. That's the way I picked up it. No, I think they wanted to talk about it, the father and the grandparents, and that's why they just wanted a good impression about their mom to her. That's why they saved that stuff, the books, her diary, her journals, and stuff for her, so that she can have a good depiction. Because you remember the dad was like, I don't believe she did drugs because what kind of mother would do that? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Remember, he was like, I don't believe she did that. I don't believe it was a drug overdose. I think it was something else. They didn't want to accept that, and they didn't want to give that to the daughter. That's how I took it. Part of buying into tokenism is buying into exceptionalism. I am the exception for the system. Yes, but there has to be for you to do something groundbreaking, you have to believe in your exceptionalism. Like for you to be the first to do something, you have to believe you have to buy into that. If I'm trying to be the first to do something, I have to believe that I have the exceptional talent to do that thing. I don't think that's necessarily wrong. I think tokenism is wrong. I don't think buying into one. I think buying into the token because my idea of token is I'm the best out of all these people. These people can't I'm allowed to be the only. There's a only ship to me with tokenism that I'm the exceptional Negroes. All these other Negroes is beneath me. There's a there's something about wanting to be the first to do something. I don't think that's necessarily negative, and there's a difference. I haven't really thought it through to explain it, but there's a difference between tokenism and wanting to be the first, like to be the exception based on I can do this and you think I can't, and I'm going to show you that I can, and keep knocking on that door and go 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 go, as opposed to I want to get in the door with the white people so they can prop me up as the only Negro that can do this, the special Negro. I think that's a different vibe than this. I think those are two different vibes. Does it make sense? Thrifty. I don't know. Do you get the nuance to that? While I totally understand what you're saying, because there is a level where they kind of intertwine, but there is a difference in somebody wanting to be the first because I want to break this door down because you're saying that black people can't do it. That's what it is. There's a difference between I want to break the door down and pull my people in, as opposed I want to break the door down and shut the door behind me. Do you get what I'm saying? There's a difference between that. Tokenism is I want to get in here and shut the door behind me because I'm I want the white people to buy into my exceptionalism. Whereas over here, it is I want to bring my people in and I want white people to buy in that we can do this shit too. That's the difference between those two. Tokenism continues the white supremacist intent. Yes. I hope that gives you the nuance in that, or how I feel about it. Eartha Kitt, Dorothy Dandridge, um, um, Josephine Baker. Nichelle Nichols, first interracial television kiss. Yeah, on Star Trek. I wonder if she would have come home. Would that have made a difference in direction? Absolutely. But given everything shown to her family, I doubt it would have been a safe place. No. Mm-mm. She wouldn't have had that many opportunities. You saw how they tried to. She did come back. Remember when she tried to come back, and Richard Avedon tried to get her on Vogue, and they was like, "No, it's too. She's too out there." The difference between being the first one and wanting to be the only one. Yes, tokenism is wanting to be the only. I think the boys in that way. The boys made a shift though. That I think that's a good call out. Um, Ty, because if you read Du Bois over the time of his life, and a good book that kind of lays this all out is called Stamped by Ibram X. Kendi. If you read Du Bois, um, in the beginning of his career, he was trying to be the light skinned exceptional Negro. But then as time went on, his politics changed and he turned into, oh, this is white supremacy too. I was indoctrinated in this white supremacy that made me think that because I'm this light skinned and educated person, that I'm better than these people. And he started to shift in a way that was less classist and less colorist and less and more into, oh, I'm trying to bring my whole race up. I thought I was taught differently, and now I shifted my politics. Later on in his life, he shifted his politics. Um, but that's a perfect example. Du Bois is a perfect example of that kind of, how he publicly shifted his mindset and publicly shifted what he thought in regard to what the black people needed in regards to pull themselves up because he was very bootstrap Negro. But all right, I go back to the Angelica Ross. In regards to Angelica Ross, like she's calling out Ryan Murphy and calling out Emma. What is Emma's name? Emma Roberts for being transphobic on the set with her while she was on the Ryan Murphy production, and how she was saying that she was having this opportunity and auditioning for a Marvel movie and was like going getting it like she was going audition after audition after audition after audition and was getting to that level where she could potentially get this role, but they wouldn't let her go do something else even though they weren't making her because of her contract. They wouldn't allowing her to do these other opportunities for. I had sunburn and my skin, can y'all see that? It is literally peeling. Ooh. So she went into this whole thing about, she's leaving Hollywood because of these opportunities, are because of losing these opportunities and not enough opportunities coming. So she is pivoting. She's calling it out and she's pivoting back to her nonprofit, trans tech, trans social, trans tech social, or something. I can't remember exactly what it is, but she's pivoting into doing something else and producing and doing her program in trans tech. And so I find that interesting, but I find it also smart that for her to pivot back in this direction that seems a little bit more. The timing is interesting, strike, etc. Um, I was talking to Angelica, I had her on the show, but I also was talking to her before then, and she had been talking about it. She's not the only one though. It's a couple of actresses that have been talking about leaving because I haven't thought this all the way through, but I'm recording a video about it, so I'm just doing my research. But this is to give you an idea. I need a little sip of some drink. To give you an idea that I'm working on right now, there is something that I am, like I said, I haven't worked it all the way through. So y'all are hearing my thoughts before I work through them fully. There is something that I want to call the Peter Dinklage effect. Do y'all know the Peter Dinklage? Do y'all know Peter Dinklage? Y'all should. Do y'all watch Game of Thrones? Peter Dinklage is the dwarf who plays Tyrion on um, Game of Thrones. He plays the dwarf. The greatest Lannister, yes. Not to me. I think Cersei is the greatest Lannister. I don't know. Cersei is the greatest Lannister. People hate Cersei because she was the villain of the show, of course. I love Cersei because Cersei is what I think all of us need. We need to be loyal to ourselves and our family because people will run over you if you don't. And if you pay attention, fiercely loyal, and if you pay attention to Cersei, everything that she did for herself, everything that she did was about protecting her family and station in life. And we do that. Yes, she's positioned as a villain, but she was protecting her name, her family, her children. This is what she was doing. Now, do she got some class issues? Absolutely. But she is a mother who is in the upper classes system, married to the king, not trying to lose her position. I related to Cersei, not the class stuff. I would have been I would have been like Cersei in protecting my family, but I would have been treating the poor like Marjorie. Whatever is her name, Marjorie. Marjorie. What's the girl name? The sexy one. That guy blew up too. I felt like I would have been a mixture of both of them because I would have been nice to the poor people. So anyway, I feel like Cersei is the greatest Lannister to me. But I understand to the public, um, Tyrion, because I feel like Tyrion was weak sauce. He was smart, but on a certain level, but also dumb. You killed your damn daddy. Get out of here. You stupid. Um, yeah, I thought Tyrion was stupid. Not stupid in the sense he just done some shit that I thought was stupid. Anyway, so let me get to my point. So Tyrion, Peter Dinklage is the actor that plays Tyrion. So trans people, like I said, give me some grace because I haven't thought about it fully. I'm kind of thinking about it now. In regards to video form. Tyrion is an example of what I think is going to happen with trans people. Yes, we had this moment where there's tons of trans roles being created. Peter Dinklage had this moment where he had a amazing once in a lifetime role of a character that was a midget in the book and was a humanized character, like a if you're a dwarf actor who is looking for a role that is not in the circus, that is not in Star Wars, that's not in fantasy world, a real, well, it's a fantasy world but it's a humanized character, then this is a dream come true. That's not gonna happen often because being a dwarf is not a norm. Yes, it's gonna be a one-off character that just so happens to be a fucking tailor-made character for you. But because this is so not a norm in reality, not a norm in society, it's gonna be uncommon for there to be a role for a dwarf. And so, how many roles are they going to create in Hollywood for Tyrion, for Peter Dinklage? How many roles for midgets are actually going to be out there? It's not going to be a lot. It's not many stories being told about midgets. And I think that's what's going to happen with trans people. The trans thing for the past 10 years has been the nuanced thing. Like, ooh, let's do a trans story. It's gonna get boring. The sensationalism is gonna get boring. And so there's not, first of all, it's not gonna be a lot of roles about it anyway. And then when it is gonna be a lot of roles, it's too many of y'all hoes to get it. It's gonna be Angelica, Laverne, Madison. Now she's an actress. Um, uh, uh, um, um, MJ. Do you see what I'm saying? Trace Lissette. She's the white girl, beautiful trans actress. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's so many actresses out here. It ain't gonna be enough trans roles. And when we think about the midgets in it's midgets, little people. I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm saying midget because of that's what they were called in Game of Thrones. But small people, little people. I think that's right. Think about the little people in Hollywood that have come in the past. There is the one that played in Willow. The one that played in Willow. Remember that character? He played in Willow, but they start complaining about, yo, we don't want to do fantasy characters. We want to do real people. Y'all having us out here being dwarfs and leprechauns. In the black community, Tony Cox, the one that played Mr. Parker, like, hey, Mr. Parker, hey, Miss Parker on Friday, and he was the midget husband, the little person husband. Like Tony Parker, he played in Star Wars. People don't know that he played in Star Wars as the Ewok. Not Tony Parker. Tony Cox. He done played in a lot of black movies. He was on Martin. Y'all know who I'm talking about. The short black um little person. Y'all know what I'm talking about. How many roles that are not comedy? That's not fantasy world, because this is what they complain about. They complain about, oh, y'all only using us for roles that's like magical little known people in fantasy worlds like Willow, like Star Wars. They're not putting us in real human roles. So they're like, this is a problem. But hey, how did I feel like trans people are going to go through that same problem over and over and over again. There's going to be some special role that specifically is made for a trans person, and yes, they're going to give it to a trans person. Great, but it's not going to be tons of roles out here, transgender world roles, to where you could live off them and you'll have a thriving career. So you have to be smart enough to pivot. You have to do something else, because just the state of percentage of roles for trans people are not going to be high, because trans storytelling is not going to be high. Just based on the numbers, we're only 1%. We're only we eat that, and that's including trans men. We're only 1% of the population. So if you go half of that 1%, 5%. Laverne is the only one I've seen in multiple cis roles. I've seen a couple of them in multiple cis roles. Um, unless they get behind the camera and develop. But even if you get behind the camera and develop, you have to have people that's going to buy it. And it has to be appeal to the mainstream because motherfuckers want money. So if you just making something that's for trans people, Marley Matlin, is that girl with the glasses from the 90s? Marley Matin. I wake up at 10.
There, your alarm's set for 10 p.m.
Marley Matin. Yes, her. That is a perfect example. You're totally right. I love her, by the way. She's always been gorgeous to me. Um, didn't she used to wear them little black glasses, or was that just her character? But yes, what's the last movie y'all seen her in? That's a perfect example. She was on Apprentice with Needy Leaks. I don't know her movies exactly. She's been, I remember her. She used to wear these little black glasses. I remember her, but that's a perfect example. Absolutely. But she won an Oscar in another film she was in and won Best Picture of the Year. Yes. So when the last thing that I seen her? When the last time have we seen her? Like, did she play Helen Keller? Did she like what role are we gonna see her in that somebody's investing their coins in? I think it gets to a point where you can't live off of it because there's not going to be enough roles for you to be in it. They feel like they have already did the Oscar award winning trans movie that has been about Tina, children of a lesser god, mid 80s. Oh. So it's 2023. So that's a perfect example. So I might not even need to do the Peter Dinklage effect. I need to do the Marley Matlin effect. Do you see what I'm saying? Because that is a perfect example. Because it's like, how many roles are going to be in this situation? I even feel like being deaf is more common than being trans. I know sign language is the most popular language other than English. She has survived in Hollywood, but survived how? When was her last role? What is she like? Like what? Like when you say survive, I'm like you got to still be working. Not you had one boom of success. You got to still be working. What else is she doing that we don't heard about? That's mainstream. That's making her money. I guess my point is you got to pivot to something else because you're not going to be able to live off of it. You're not gonna be a star like a Scarlett Johansson because these are cisgender people that's gonna constantly get scripts thrown at them. And then and I know this may be problematic, but it also gets weird too when we're saying, while I understand it, but when we're also saying don't cis people don't play trans roles, let trans people do it, that automatically is going to make them say, well, okay, we're not going to have y'all for our cisgender roles either. Because you not cis. Not that I think that that's the equal of the same thing, but I can imagine some cis people doing that. She has written books as well. And I think because of her unique experience, I think that's perfect. I think that's great. So she made a pivot. Yeah, I've seen her on shows, but this was a peak. I haven't seen her on anything. Let me see what's her last stuff. Like when was I haven't seen her on anything like popping recently. I'm seeing all her movies from the 80s. Let's see. Things that are popping. She had something recent, but it was a while before. Oh yeah, she's a perfect example. She's talking about. So she's the only deaf person that has ever won an Academy Award until until 2022 when Troy Caster won. So it's only been two. So it's even, and this is what I mean by something being so uncommon. We just got black women to win two leading actress awards. We just got Halle Berry whenever she won it. So even though blackness is even more prevalent, it's still an upward battle from that. This is what I remember from her. Yeah, these are she hasn't her hasn't boomed since then. It hasn't really been until this recent thing that she did. It hasn't really been enough to live off of. Especially now that we see with this strike, now that we see that with this strike, that them residual checks is chump change. Um barely even money to get coffee sometimes. So they not making any money off this shit. That's the point of them striking. So she really ain't making no money. So she's I'm glad that you brought her up because this is that's an even more perfect example. Who is she married to as well? Because that's also a privilege. Because if you got a husband bringing coins in too, oh, she been married to her husband since 1993. Who is he? That's what it is. Kevin, her husband, the man behind Marley Matin's success. That's what it is. Oh, that's what it is. She got a sickening husband too. Byron Allen. I'm talking about Marlon Mateen's husband. It's Kevin Grandiowski. So I'm glad you brought her up because I forgot all about her. Um, but how she's maneuvering, like it's going to be a very, and this is coming from a deaf person that doesn't have the stigma that a trans person has. I think that it's going to be a very different uphill battle for a trans person and a deaf person because there's a sympathy that comes with a deaf person, and there is a you chose this life, bitch, for being trans that comes with a trans person. So there's gonna be a it's gonna be a different uphill battle. RuPaul definitely got lucky. Um Yes, and there is novelty. There is a novelty that drag is that lucky, and there's a novelty to drag. Drag RuPaul is not trying to be taken seriously and get the character RuPaul humanity seen. Do you see what I'm saying? Like trans people, trans actresses, they're trying to get the humanity of trans people seen. But I think that's what multiple people have said. There has to be, you have to create, you have to one thing that I love about Laverne is, she got into her producer bag. I think I cried when I watched Disclosure. I cried when I watched that because it was something that I had dreamed of making. I'm glad she made it, but it was something that it's like somebody took my history of trans people and made it that I know that other people don't know, that isn't common knowledge, and made it into a documentary. And I thought it was brilliant. Like I cried when I made it. I thought it was a brilliantly made documentary. I would have put a little bit, you know, more of us in there. But for what it was, I appreciated it. Like it was like, oh my God, wow, this is a dream come true. This is what I wanted. I wanted somebody to invest money in doing this backstory of trans people in our culture. It was brilliant. I loved it. So she got into her producer bag with that, and I thought it was dope. And I think that's what you're gonna have to do if you want to make trans stories. Yes, it's easier if you got some big conglomerate supporting you, but if you don't, you got to do like these independent film stars, take their money and invest it. Look at what Issa did. Now she's cisgender, but when people were telling her no, she was like, "Hey, I'm gonna try to make my own thing, and if it's good, people are gonna be drawn to it, like they were drawn to Awkward Black Girl." And boom, we have um, Insecure. Right. So yes, she pivoted, and I think a lot of tokens and exceptional Negroes. I think a lot of them, they get caught, especially if they're doing it because like some low self-esteem shit. They get caught up in their life and get stuck. They get stuck and they don't pivot, and it harms them. I think about my own self. I'm not no celebrity, of course, in on that level, but I pivoted into a lot of things, into my podcast and um, you know, nonprofit, um, speaking, teaching. Like I pivot into a lot of things, so I have tons of different incomes coming in to where I'm not rich, but I'm sustaining myself and not living check to check. And so, but I had to learn how to pivot. Like, oh, remember when they shut my whole channel down? I didn't know why. That was random. I didn't know that was gonna happen. But luckily, I had something. I wasn't living off of YouTube. It was a cute little check, but I could pay a bill or two. But What if this was my whole livelihood? It would have been devastating. So you gotta know how to pivot and do other things. I can't wait to see your next pivot. Hmm. Well, I only have two things that I want right now. Well, I don't want to say two things. I want to continue to create, but I want my book to come out. I just want it to be good. So that's why it's taking so long. It's done. I'm just kind of just tweaking. I just want it to be right. I want it to be what I want it to be. And I'm working through some things that are just not right to me. And I want it to be right. So my book, and then the next thing after my book that I'm working on is a list this is all the list of all my original songs. And I have to narrow it down and get them all recorded. And I don't want to be a musical star. I don't want to be that. But I want to have a album that exists of original music that I wrote and performed. I just want it to exist. It don't need to sell a lot. It sell to whoever gonna buy it. But I want it to exist of my own music. Yeah. And that's what this list is. So I always write stuff down. So this whole list is my whole list of original songs that I want to write. Yeah. I have a little thing under here where I keep all my papers. But yes, my next after my book, then it's gonna be music. I'm gonna yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Just to have it. I just want my artistry to be out. However, however it's out. Yes, and here's a link to my musical playlist. Uh, how about a transgender monologue play? Somebody's already done that. I can't remember the name. It's similar to vagina monologues, but I have no interest in doing that. Mm, I do have an interest in if I was gonna do a movie, I want to play a villain. I want to play an older woman villain. So if I was gonna do a play or a movie, I want to be a villain of some kind. So that is also a dream of mine for me to be a villain, any kind of villain. I don't care, just whatever. A villain. I want to do that. Already bang and sing your songs like they're on the radio already. Yes. Um, what else? Yeah, those are my dreams. I would like to play a villain. I would like to have a book out. I would like to um have an album out. I would, another dream that I have, and I'm just speaking it into existence. I would imagine a I want to say this is groundbreaking, but I would love to be a part of it. I would love to see a View like show with queer people. Imagine me, T.S. Madison, Who else? What queer? OBO. And Tre'vell Anderson. That would be dope. It's something about that combination I feel would be dope. or me, Jade Fox, which is um, a lesbian content creator. Me, Jade Fox. I don't know, just like interesting queer people on a View type of show. I don't know. I just think that would be dope. I don't know. I would have to think about that a little more. Tre'vell book is so good too. I'm trying to get oh, hit me up to be on the show, like when the book was coming out, but it I said sure, of course, da 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 da. But then they didn't um, continue the conversation. So I was like, okay, but yeah, I just think it'd be, I just think it'd be dope. Yeah. Or a View type deal with just queer women, trans women and lesbians, just women. I could do that too. That would be dope. I don't know. I think it'll be sick. That would be a dream come true. Um, Film wise, I would if I just got rich and got connected to some money, I would hire um I would hire a young trans actress and I would produce The Love Beneath. Does Flame Monroe get enough credit or too much? Get enough credit for what? What did Flame Monroe do? That was positive. Flame has a space in your community. She doesn't have a space in my community. I think Flame is a pariah. I'm available to be the actress of Love Beneath. Word. I think there's a difference between being problematic and being a detriment. Problematic is T.S. Madison sometimes. T.S. Madison can be problematic sometimes, but I don't think that T.S. Madison is a detriment to our culture. She can be problematic. Just we gotta teach you a little bit more so you can talk about it a little bit different. But Flame is a detriment to us. She is not a positive thing. She may be a positive thing to you, and that's fine, but she is not a positive thing to our community, to me. Being a public trans person doesn't make you positive. Caitlyn Jenner is a public trans person. I don't think she does anything for us. Maybe old white trans people that got money, like older transitioning white men who are about to transition, she might do something for them. But I think Flame is a detriment way more than she is a positive aspect of our community. I don't know anything about Flame's um, identity. What I do know about her identity is that she proclaims to be a father of three. She gets out of drag at home and lives as Marcus Parker. And then Flame, her drag character, is her job. Um, so that doesn't sound like a trans woman to me. And even transgender is a stretch for me based on what she have said out of her mouth and how she, like, even when she was on Botched, she came there as Marcus Parker. She didn't come there as a trans person and said, but this Flame is my job, Flame is my work. That sounds like a drag queen to me. Now, she is claiming trans, mm, you know, okay. I don't want to say nobody's not, but based on what she has said out her mouth, she is Marcus Parker in the day, in the same way RuPaul is RuPaul in the day, and then her drag character RuPaul is it for work. That's what Flame said. That's her. So there's no non-binary in there. This is I'm a dude that got some implants on my chest, and I go to work and I go to school when my kids need me to go to school. I put my blazers on, cover up my titties, and go be their father. And when I'm home, I'm having sex with stud or F to M lesbians and being the man of the house because that's still a woman. And then I go to work as Flame. That to me sounds like a drag queen. That's what it sounds like to me. A gay man. Well, shit, not even a gay, because he messing with a cis woman. That's what he said. And after him. So I don't know. So this sounds like a drag queen to me. It doesn't sound like a trans woman. It doesn't sound, it just sounds like a drag queen. But I think people can self-identify, do their things. Um, but I don't. I find them to be way more. I don't find anything ade- um what is it? Endearing about Flame. There was an element when she was on Comic View. There was an element of that I was like, oh, it is. But I was also young. I was a teenager, and seeing her on Comic View was there's a level of groundbreaking that I respected, but nothing else about her life was a contribution to us until you fast forward to this anti-trans rampage that she has been on, that she has found Um, it's kind of like the Hodges twins. It's kind of like she's like the Candace Owens of this community, kind of. I don't know. She has found a niche of anti-transness, anti-trans rhetoric, and she is riding that wave. Is she, you know, I don't know what's good to you. I don't know what credit she deserves to you, but in my world, there's no credit that needs to be given to her. Yeah. Um. Yes. Mm. But all right, y'all. I hope y'all watch the Danielle Luna documentary. I thought it was so good. I felt like I said, she's on my wall. So she is somebody who I have always admired. Um, her story has always been something that I look to as, breaking ground. Mm. Mm, I don't think so. Because non-conforming means that you're not conforming. Everything about her life is conforming. Like she's not being like a non-binary person. When she's dressed as Flame, she's conforming to women's norms. So she's not non-conforming. Every part of her life is conforming. It's not like she's gender bending. Flame is not gender bending. I don't consider her Flip Wilson. Flip Wilson wasn't a drag queen. I wouldn't say that either. Flip Wilson wasn't. He got in drag as a comedy skit, but I think Flame is more of just. I don't think Flame is a straight man that is doing what Martin did or being what is it, Geraldine. I think it's more of a drag nuance with Flame. There are some similarities, but I think it's more of a drag thing with Flame. And then be on tour with Dave Chappelle. Trans Bachelor numero uno. Yeah, fuck Flame. Yeah. Get your coins, but this goes back to what if you watch the show, Geraldine was one of many characters that Flip did. Didn't make him GNC. Yeah. I think that's a stretch. I think that Flame is a drag queen. That's what I think Flame is. And some people, I just don't consider. mm, Yeah, just based on what she says. It's not me trying to, oh, you're not trans. It's based on what she says. She says, I'm a father of three and I live my life as a man. I live my life in this world outside of the public eye as a man. I'm Marcus Parker. But when I get on stage, I'm at work and I go as Flame. That to me sounds like a drag queen. That does not sound like a trans person to me. Now, there's some nuances to that. Cool. But to me, that doesn't sound like a trans person. That sounds like a drag queen. Sound like a man that got some titties. They got pumped and got some botched surgeries to make his illusion as a drag queen more better, I guess. But yeah. But my point is, They don't do nothing for the community to give them credit. It's for themselves. So, but yes, check it out. I'm about to get up out of here. If you're watching this late, thumbs up. If you're watching later, thumbs up. Right, right. We know what trans drag is. A trans person, yes, they're gonna do the wigs and the glamour and the glitz and glam and costumes that comes with drag, but when they go home, they're still a woman. There's a character that's a woman and their home life that's a woman. That's not what they do. But all right, y'all. I'm about to get me something to eat because I haven't eaten all day. That's another thing about the surgery. You don't be hungry and you'll forget. And I gotta eat. But all right, y'all. I will talk to y'all next. Will I talk to y'all next Friday? Will I be here? Let's see. Yes, I will. All right. I will see y'all next Friday. Bye, y'all.